All right, we are live, and of course, I always like to give a few minutes for people to join on. For anyone who comes later, we will be broadcasting this on several live streams. We got this playing on Instagram. Unfortunately, not TikTok because TikTok has a lot of rules and restrictions. I don't know if anyone knows about the news going on about banning TikTok. I don't know. I think that's supposed to happen next week. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I don't use TikTok much, so it's not going to affect me. We also have it streaming on YouTube. So I think I said Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So welcome from whatever platform you are watching to another live with Diabetes 180. We're going to be trying to do these lives, I would say, every other week at least. So mark your calendar from this month for every other Monday. Try to keep it consistent. Depending on how my schedule goes, I might do every Monday. My goal is eventually to be doing these lives every week, where we talk about weight loss, we talk about diabetes, we talk about mental health, spiritual health. We talk about a lot of things because you can't isolate just one thing when you're talking about health and experiencing a 180 in diabetes. You're experiencing a 180 and a change in every area of your life. Anyway, as you guys are coming on, let me know in the chat where you are coming on from. I always like to know the spread of our viewers. We got viewers from all over the world, I'm sure, all over the United States. So let me know where you're viewing from. And also, if you don't mind, as you're coming in, anyone who's viewing, let me know if you're a type 1 or type 2 diabetic. That helps a lot because the myths we're busting are going to address mainly type 2, but also type 1 diabetes is very much related. And even type 1.5 diabetes, the more rare, rarely diagnosed diabetes. All right, we got Duncan from Oklahoma. Awesome. And since this is streaming from different platforms, I still haven't figured out how to see where you are viewing from. And if I'm missing any comments, I apologize. I'll figure it out. I'm a little new to doing lives, but I know a lot of times I go back. I'm like, wow, there's all these comments I missed. So I apologize in advance if I miss your comments. Type 2 diabetes. Yes. Okay. Coach JJ in the house from Knoxville. That's right. Knoxville is a great place to be. I was in Chattanooga for like 10 years. Kentucky, type 2, Lori Bishop. Thank you. As we're waiting for more people to come in, I'll let you know where I'm from. So I'm actually from New York. I grew up mainly in Long Island until I was about 18. And when my parents figured out they couldn't afford New York, they got wise. But actually, at that point, I was on my way to college. And so, long story short, I've been all over, the East Coast mainly. And right now, our family is living in Portugal. I happen to be back in the States you love Long Island is a nice place to live. Very expensive, but it's a beautiful place for sure. So, if anyone's been following my journey, I've been trying to find a place where I could scale back as far as my workload to really focus on this business and live life on my pace. So we moved to Portugal. My family and I are used to doing crazy things. It was nice coming back though. It's been about 3 months since I've been stateside. Definitely don't miss the difference in groceries for sure. Before I left Portugal, we went to the grocery store in Portugal and spent 60 euros, and that was enough food. Bought enough food for our family of I would say maybe 2 to 3 weeks of groceries. So I come back to the States to buy groceries for myself. Of course, first thing you gotta do is buy your food, set yourself up. I'll be here for a while, but it's only me. So I thought, I'll just buy a few things. $120 later, I probably have enough food for a week, so maybe 2 weeks. So yeah, man, that's one thing that I could observe. There's a big difference between grocery costs here in the States and other places, man. But anyway, you guys are here hopefully to learn about myths on diabetes. And as you're joining in, if you haven't already, let us know where you're watching from, your name, because I can't see the names, and your type of diabetes. If you're type 1, type 2, pre-diabetes. And as we go along, this I don't expect to be a very long live, but just know that we're going to try to address the most common myth that needs to be busted. But if you have questions right during this live, or even on the playback, if you're watching it on the playback, because I do go back and look at the comments after this plays back on our multiple platforms. You have any questions, any curiosities, any myths, things that you know for sure you're not too sure about, that you want busted about diabetes, let's bring it to light. And so I'll do my best to answer them. Okay. So first thing is that I would like to highlight in addressing these myths about diabetes is that they're all very much related to one common misconception. Okay, you'll understand that if you follow diabetes 180, we're very faith based. So I believe strongly in the fact that healing can be found in nature. Okay, and I'm sure many of you guys agree who are watching this that we look outside, and many of the ailments, the sicknesses that we suffer from, we could find a remedy in natural healing, in natural remedies, natural things. So in that same breath, it just makes sense that the God that created nature who likes order, who likes things to be simple and easy as far as to access, that the answers for diabetes are simple and easy. Okay, it's not complicated at all. I promise you. If you want to find out what you need to do to really get a grasp on this disease, right? So someone says, I'm a full advocate of plant-based medicine. I believe God designed the earth to have everything we need. That's the point, man. That's what I love. That everything we need is right there, and it's easy. So you don't gotta have insurance. So you don't have to sell a kidney. You don't have to be on all these medications. Of course, I'm not saying we're against medications. They have their time and place, but understanding how to really work with the natural laws of health, you could find really the answer to any question. So go ahead and let me know as I talk if you have any questions specifically. But the first myth we have to bust, I did have a little list here, but the first myth we have to bust is that many of you have heard that carbs are the enemy, right? When it comes to diabetes, gaining weight, carbs are the enemy. Carbs are the cause of diabetes, and in order to reverse diabetes, you got to limit your carbs, right? Fortunately, this is something that a lot of health communities, health organizations, even the Diabetes Association is starting to understand. When you go to these websites, they're starting to understand that whole idea of needing to count your carbs and limit your carb intake is actually based on false science, right? Or misunderstood science. And we're going to break that down really quick. Actually, the best way to do it is I put together a study I want to show. Okay, so to show you that it's not carbs that's the enemy. Okay, it's not carbs or sugar that causes diabetes. And once you understand this, the true cause of diabetes, that is, you'll know the secret to reversing it. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to my presentation mode. Let's see. Just got to exit the full screen. All right, so I'm going to do picture in picture, and it's already on. All right, just give me a moment, because so what I want to show here, actually, I'm not sure if it's picture's on. It's fine. Yep. Show here is it's just a short a few slides. Okay. I don't like to do a lot of slides on these lives because I don't want to bore you, but this is something that really must be shown when you're talking about um, the real cause of diabetes. That it's nothing new. I like to talk about this study because this is not some kind of new science. As early as 1927, we have known that the true cause of diabetes is not sugar or too much carbs. It is fat. Is this news to anyone? So let me know if this is news to anyone. Is this something that you've never heard before? Okay. If you don't believe me, look it up. All right. Google it. Just go to Dr. Google at this point, and you'll see that it's not carbs. It is fat. It is fat. This is the first myth that has to be busted. Okay. If you want more detailed experiments, I'll tell you how to find them in a minute. But 1927, Dr. Shirley Sweeney demonstrated how insulin function can be compromised by a high-fat diet with a simple experiment. What he did is he took a group of college graduates, I should say, not graduates, college students, medical students, and he split them into 4 different diets. These were people who are healthy, non-diabetic. Okay, so this is crazy because you would think that someone who went on a diet for 2 days is not going to really influence them enough to develop high blood sugars, right, if they're normal. But what he did was amazing. In just 2 days, he proved what really causes high blood sugars. Okay, he put them each individual on 1 of 4 diets. One was a high protein diet consisting of things like eggs, chicken, purely protein. Okay, so that meaning the main source of nutrition for those 2 days was protein. Another group was placed on a high fat diet, meaning so they were basically given oil, butter, mayonnaise, lard, just fat for 2 days. That's all they ate. And another group was given nothing but refined carbs. Okay, and I say this specifically, refined carbs, so that everything that a diabetic should not eat: sugar, pastries, bread, cupcakes. I don't know about you. I know which group I would want to be in, right? But of course, question for you I would have is, which diet do you think would be um, the most what's the word, diabetes inducing, I guess. So which diet? Most of people would say, of course, the high carb diet, because carbs causes diabetes. You eat nothing but sugar, you're gonna turn into a diabetic. How many of you guys have heard that? You know all that sugar, you're gonna be diabetic soon, right? But so you would expect the sugar to cause the highest blood sugar spikes. But on day 3, they gave them what's called a glucose challenge. What the glucose challenge entails is basically drinking a sugary solution, glucose syrup, I guess you could call it, and then testing your blood sugar levels in intervals to see, who had the highest spikes. And guess what? The high fat group had the highest blood sugar levels of all the groups in this challenge, not the high carb group. The high carb group was actually normal. Okay. Again, these were non-diabetics, but they on a high carb diet for 2 days had normal blood sugar levels. The high fat group in just 2 days had elevated blood sugars to the level of being diagnosed with diabetes. Okay. The high protein group was followed. All right. So I don't know if you guys have any questions on that. That's a new study to you, but it really shows to me, how this is not a new concept. As early as early as the late 1920s, 1927, we have known that there was a connection between high fat, and high blood sugars. Now, of course, that being said, it makes sense that a lot of people think that, well, it's a sugar that causes diabetes, or it's a sugar that's the problem, because whenever you eat sugar, right, you eat something sweet, you test your if you're a diabetic, that is, you prick your finger, you test your blood, and your blood sugar elevates, right? Some of you guys maybe have experiencing with limiting carbs, lowering carbs, you're counting carbs, and you test your blood sugar and it drops. So it makes sense when you first observe on first observation that it's the sugar that's a problem. It's the carbs that's a problem, because when I eat carbs, my blood sugar goes up. When I eliminate carbs, blood sugars go down. But it's not that simple, because this is where another myth is busted. Elevated blood sugars, okay, are a symptom of diabetes, not the cause of diabetes. Okay, it's the symptom. Just like when you have a cold and, you're coughing, and the mucus you produce is a symptom of a virus that is invaded your system, right? Compromising your immune system. Your blood sugars being high as a result of carb intake is a symptom of a deeper underlying problem. So by reversing this deeper underlying problem, guess what? You're on your way to reversing diabetes. So obviously, the next question is, what is that underlying problem? Well, if you follow the last study, you already know what it is: the amount of fat we have inside our bodies. Okay. The amount of fat stored within our bodies, our muscle and liver cells, causes, unfortunately, insulin, the key, that has often been described as a key that unlocks the doors to allow blood sugars to enter into cells, is being resisted, right? Your insulin is no longer working. That is in the case of type 2 diabetes. Okay. So this is where blood sugars come in as a result of diets that are too high in fat. So if this is new to you, if this is something you've never heard before, I want to challenge you, okay, for the next 2 weeks at least, to start to monitor your fat intake. It's that simple. You can do it with several diet apps. Chronometer is one. We like Lose It, MyFitnessPal. Any calorie counter or nutrition app can do it. And I don't want you to pay attention to carbs. I want you to pay attention to fat only. Okay. And I want you to limit your fat intake to 15% of your daily total calories, or 30 grams a day, no more than 30 grams a day. A truly low fat diet. Okay. Odds are right now, if you were to just check your fat intake on a normal, even a healthy diet, okay, what's considered healthy on our American standards, let me say, your fat intake is on average probably 30% or higher. Okay. That is because it's very easy to find fat in even healthy foods, some plant foods. But of course, if your diet consists of, and this is where I'm going to probably step on some toes, all right, if it consists of animal products or animal byproducts, then you're already going to be in a disadvantage when it comes to that low fat connection, because the foods, if you're going to talk about fat, the specific fat that becomes a problem in causing diabetes is saturated fat. And the foods that are rich sources of saturated fat are animal products: chicken, eggs, beef, meat. So oils, okay, also, so I challenge you, okay? That's the challenge. So for the next 2 weeks, I want you to start logging your fat percentage and decreasing it, bringing it down to no more than 15% of daily total calories. All right. So now the next myth that we got to address then, well, what about all those people who are eating high fat, high protein diets? Okay. Oh man. I wanted to keep this short, but I gotta address this one, and we're probably gonna have to do a part two because there's so many other myths that need to be busted. All right, let me see. I haven't even been looking at the comments. Thank you, Sean. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And that your diabetes is well controlled. Awesome. And carbs are not the enemy at all. Did y'all know that D-mannose is a sugar that's actually super beneficial in preventing urinary tract infections? Actually, you didn't know that. It comes from fruits and veggies like cranberries, cabbage, and tomatoes. Yeah, these whole foods are medicine. That's what we started with. That's what's so simple about the natural way of healing. Okay. So yeah, someone asked a great question. Vegetable oil, is that fat? Yes, oil is pure fat. Okay. This is something that, of course, you may not think about, but if you think about what started off as a vegetable, or even an olive gets refined and pressed down, right? So refined that the only thing that's left of that original vegetable oil is fat. Oil is like the sugar equivalent to sugar cane. Okay, you start off with a plant, you refine it down to its very basic nutrient, which is sugar. You do the same thing with vegetable oils. You refine them down to a very basic unit of nutrient, that's fat. Fat, which holds most calories per gram of all nutrients, being at 9 calories per gram. So, in a way, oil is like the junk food of the health food kingdom. Okay, and it's very easy, you'll find, to start preparing food with that oil. It's very easy. All right, someone asked about cocoa, I think, from Charleston, West Virginia. Laura. All right. So cocoa, actually is something that we use. I don't think it's a problem really. If you're looking at the ingredients, making sure that there's no added sugar, then that's fine. Where the biggest problem with when you're looking at someone who wants to reverse the diet, the root cause of diabetes is going to be fat. Okay. Oh, cocoa bean. Yeah. So yeah, the as long as you are eating a diet that limits fat percentage, you'll find you're able to slip in, healthy oil, healthy fats into your diet. Healthy fats are found, and this is another thing, fats are found in every food, right? Whether it be beans, um, uh, veggies, even fruits have some fat in it. So you'd be surprised. You put something, anything in a nutrition app, even if you're trying to eat low fat, you're going to find it's very easy to get your fat percentage going up pretty quick. Okay, so the best thing I could say is try it out in your specific diet. I would never tell anyone what they need to take in or take out of their diet. I'm going to tell you what's going to make it easiest, though, is if you've already gotten rid of animal products or limited animal products, it's going to be a lot easier to get to that 15%, because those are the foods that have the highest fat percentage of fat. Okay, but great questions. So yeah, I hope I answered that well, I should say. Really, the best way to know you're keeping your fat percentage in a safe range is logging everything you eat, right, and making sure the majority of what you eat is from plant sources. Okay. Someone says, I may have missed you saying this. What do you recommend as a max of fat intake? So 30 grams for most. This is from most studies. Okay, I should say this too, because I don't like trust you, bro. Science, like trust me, bro. Yeah, I just know, right? I don't, but this is something that you can look up. And so there's two sources that I highly recommend all my clients to look through. Mastering Diabetes has an awesome book, not just for the teachings they have, but for the resources they cite. I think they cite over 800 resources or something crazy like that. I mean, every chapter has facts from nutrition sources, and most of the studies that you look at regarding fat percentage and diabetes reversal gets you to 10 to 15% or 30 grams of your daily total calories. That is a truly low fat diet. If you look at nutritionfacts.org, that's the next resource, by Dr. Michael Greger. I love his book, How Not to Diet. He talks about how, if you look at our ancestors, how people originally ate, their diets were close to about 15% of total fat. If you think about, how we originally, were foragers and gatherers, and most of our fats were from occasionally, when you finally killed that animal, right? Maybe you would have meat for once a month, and nuts and seeds. Of course, nuts were hard to get to because you got to crack the nut, right? So our ancestors lived on low fat diets of about 15 to 10%. We're just going back to our origins in doing so. Okay. Yes, a great job, great job they're doing. So that book, nutritionfacts.org, and Master Diabetes, if you haven't read it, it will convince you. Okay. So, and then spread it, share it with the world, because a lot of people don't know about this stuff. So again, another myth I'll probably get into now I think is really important. And then if you guys have more questions, we'll keep it going. Is this idea of keto or high fat, high protein diets? My wife was on it for a while, for years actually. I can't say a while, for years, and she experienced good blood sugar levels. So I have patients, as a physician assistant, I have patients that go keto. And if that's what you're doing right now, that's fine. If that works for you, that's okay. But I'm here to give you the facts. Okay, the fact is, no matter how long you've been on a keto diet, you have not really reversed your diabetes. Even if your A1C is perfect, even if your blood sugars are perfect. You know why I know this? Is because as soon as you take a glucose challenge, the very thing we as physicians test to see if you're a diabetic, you'll fail, right? So no longer how long you're on a high fat, high protein diet, you won't be able to tolerate a glucose test because you're not reversing the root cause of diabetes. You are still insulin resistant. All you're doing is essentially avoiding the symptoms. Okay, avoiding the symptoms, which is like the equivalent to someone who has a peanut allergy deciding I'm no longer eating peanuts. Right? You're not reversing the peanut allergy. You're just maintaining the allergy by avoiding the trigger. So I should say trigger, not symptom. You're avoiding the trigger, which is carbs. So a low carb diet, a keto diet, is basically all it's doing is avoiding the trigger, mask so that you don't experience the symptoms of high blood sugar. And if that's where your preference, that's fine. But here we talk about the science of reversal. If you really want to reverse diabetes or come off medications, then it's best to reverse the root cause of, again, type 2 diabetes. Someone asked about kidney stones. Yes, keto can increase your risk of kidney stones and a lot of other diseases, conditions I'm not going to get into right now. But yes, keto has been, because it's typically higher in animal proteins, it is very much linked to kidney stones and other conditions. Okay. But what's great is there's no side effects, there's no drawbacks, there's nobody who's going to be concerned with long-term side effects when eating a whole food plant-based diet. Only good things, only good side effects, so that's the beauty. So I hope I addressed that one myth, that keto or low-fat diets, low carb diets are the cure. It really isn't. It's okay if you want to manage it that way, but it's not curing your condition. Because, and obviously eat some fruits just take a break and just eat fruits for a day or something, and you'll see how high your blood sugars go up, right? And so on a low fat diet, you increase your carb tolerance. You could eat it's amazing how to see how many patients and clients are shocked to see how much carbs they can eat. Starchy vegetables. Okay, they could eat potatoes again, right? My wife can eat fruits for breakfast, just fruits. Okay, and for some people it just takes days, some weeks. For my wife, it took about 6 weeks. Some of our clients just days. Someone said within a few months of stopping keto and turning to a plant-based diet, my fatty liver healed itself. It's amazing, right? It doesn't take long when you're doing it naturally. That's what I love about this God of nature and the natural things he's given us for our healing. Okay. Plant-based meats okay to eat. So I hope I'm saying your name right, Aroja. That's a great question. Are plant-based meats okay? The problem, let me say the good thing about plant-based meats. Plant-based meats, off the bat, of course, are a good transition, especially because when you're eating a diet that's high in meat and dairy and cheese, it's very hard for some people to just go cold turkey and stop. So when you're transitioning and you want to eat plant-based meats, to transition to a whole food plant-based diet, I think it's a good start. But if you want the best health, plant-based meats are not a good option because these products too often are high in fat. Okay, again, use these nutrition logs and test it out, and you'll see how much fat is in a lot of these meats. It's very hard to keep at 15% with plant-based meats. On top of the fact that a lot of them have added sodium, some of them actually have added sugars. So it's highly processed, not the best for your health, but it's good idea if you want to transition in from the real stuff, I guess, as we call it. All right, but long term, yeah, it's best to limit those foods. Okay. But be treat yourself with grace. Okay, everyone has their own time frame. Some need to take a week at a time. Some people can go cold turkey. Some people, can take one meal at a time. Start with your breakfast and go to your lunch. Right, mass learning to make these changes in your own time, in your own pace, is very important. So last question I think I will address, last myth I should say, is, well, I should actually address that last one too. Well, maybe two. We'll do two. One is that, can diabetes be reversed? So I think this is a good question, uh, because all you guys who have diabetes, you probably have thought that, to yourself. I think for me, I will never be off medication. I think for me, I'll never have a normal A1C. Okay. For the vast majority, though, of people, yes, you can reverse diabetes. At this point, it's very well known. There are so many different groups, organizations out there that are doing it. Whether it be an intensive program where they give you the meals, or coaching programs like myself where we guide you through the process. Absolutely, yes, for the vast majority. Now, what does that mean, vast majority? That means there might be some people who are outliers, or atypical, only because there's a lot of factors in reversing a condition like diabetes. Number one, diabetes didn't happen overnight. Okay. By the time you were diagnosed with diabetes, it's likely that you had it. Basically, diabetes was under the surface growing for an average of 8 to 10 years before it manifested itself with your sugars being high. It's just that your pancreas was keeping up. Right. It's not like type 1 diabetes. And I'm sorry we didn't address, I don't think anyone here said they were type 1 diabetes, so we didn't address it. But if anyone has questions about type 1 diabetes, just a short parenthetical statement: a low fat, whole food, plant based diet helps with type 1 diabetes as well. You still will need insulin, but you'll find that you'll need less insulin on this diet because you're reversing insulin resistance, making insulin work better for you. Okay. Hi, Bethy. All right. So, where was I on reversal? So, yeah. So there might be some people who have had diabetes for years. It's going to take longer for you. Um, and there's some people who have had diabetes for years, and their pancreatic function, and there's ways of testing this, actually indicate that they're no longer type 2 diabetic, but what's called type 1.5. So those are going to be insulin dependent, because their pancreas is no longer producing insulin. Okay. um, and this usually diagnosed as an adult. But not knowing where you are on the spectrum, it doesn't hurt to try. It does not hurt to try, because I guarantee you that most likely you are going to be the one that no longer needs to live with this condition if you give it an honest effort. That is the key, though. What do you have to lose? Give it an honest effort. I challenge you. Try to bring that fat percentage down. Increase your consumption of complex carbs, right? Complete carbs, and really give it an honest try, right? There are some who and within weeks or even days, their blood sugars are normalized, medications are dropped. They're hurrah. There's others that might take a little longer. Still others that maybe they've been on low fat, whole food, plant based diet for years, and the A1C still remains elevated, or the blood sugars are elevated, and they're wondering, well, why isn't it working for me? Well, I want to encourage you, if you're one of those people, that even if your A1C still indicated diabetes, let's say you're still at 7.1 or something, or and you've been low fat, whole food, plant based, which is rare, that's not common. Okay. Even if that happens to you, eating a low fat, whole food, plant based diet is, I stand by this, and with confidence, is the only diet that is tied to longevity. Right? That means living a long, healthy life. When you're looking at population studies are known as blue zones, places where people are living the longest. They're all doing the same thing. They're lowering the amount or eliminating the amount of animal-based foods and increasing the amount of carb-rich whole foods like whole grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables, whether starchy or leafy green vegetables. Okay. Um, So yeah, no matter what the numbers say, you're eating for health, which I think could probably end on the last myth that you have to, and eating a low fat, whole food, plant based diet is boring, and you have to sacrifice your taste buds. Is not true. Okay, you can eat an abundance of food on a low fat, whole food, plant based diet. You haven't realized it yet. Okay, you haven't really gone into the true kitchen, God's kitchen, if I would call it. If you think about the abundant amount of carbohydrate rich foods that are out there that you are limiting, that you probably never tried or tasted, you're probably sacrificing more on an animal centric diet, and limit that limits carbs, right? Because there are so many options when it comes to the world of carb rich foods. And I've amassed a list of 290 recipes. I know there's other groups that probably have even more than that. There's many diet books, recipe books that are out there. All I can say is try it out, give it an honest effort, and you'll be surprised that how your taste buds are thanking you. Is there an adjustment period? Absolutely, because your taste buds are used to, I guess, hyper palatable foods that have too much sugar, too much salt, and too much fat, and those taste buds do die off after a while. So I think what I've read is about 21 days, about 3 weeks, your taste buds can recycle, and you got new ones. So give it a few weeks of a transitioning. And studies actually show that if you force yourself to wean off of high sugar or high salt or high fat, eventually your taste for those things, your desire for those things resets, and it's like your taste buds go back to normal, and now you can enjoy the natural flavors of natural food. So it takes time. It takes time, but stick with it, and you'll find out that you don't have to sacrifice taste for health. Man, I eat the best meals I've eaten my whole life since making this change, and many people can agree, right? So I think I covered the most important myths that need to be busted. Let me know in the comment section if there's any other myths that you have heard that I guess I should adjust how I ask that, because if you know it's a myth, then you don't need it to be busted. But anyway, any facts about diabetes that you want to confirm if it's true or not, especially those facts that probably make it confusing when you hear the facts you've heard today on about low fat, carb centered diets for diabetes. Okay, so that's about all we have for thank you guys for joining. Again, we'll try to have these lives every other week, every other Monday. So next Monday we won't have a live, the Monday after. Join our Facebook group if you want to know about these lives. It's Diabetes 180, just like it says right here, Diabetes 180 on Facebook. If you want to join our Facebook group, that's a great way to keep in touch and know when these lives are going on. You'll get the alerts. Okay. So, as always, beloved, I pray above all things it may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. See you in 2 weeks.